Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, we are going to give you 5 tips to help you beat the crowds at Universal Studios.
If you're new here, on this channel we talk about all things Halloween, Harry Potter, and theme parks. If that's something you're interested in, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
Oh, click. Spring break is here and summer is just around the corner, meaning that the parks are going to be busy for the foreseeable future. We just got back from a vacation and the parks were about as busy as we've ever seen them. Definitely more busy than they've been in the past year and a half.
Yeah.
And we were still able to have an amazing time using these 5 strategies that we're about to share with you. Let's get into it.
Tip number 5 is going to be to go early and stay late. So what we mean by that is that early in the mornings and later in the afternoon is when the parks are going to be the least busy.
Yeah, I think we read somewhere that 10 or 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. are the busiest times in the park.
Right.
And that's been confirmed to us at least. With all the notifications of the parks reaching capacity at about that 10 to 11 a.m. time frame. And then they start allowing guests back into the parks it's like 2:30 to 4 o'clock.
What we would suggest is if you're staying on property, you do get early park admission, which is usually around like 7 to 9 a.m. So you can get there first thing in the morning, spend a couple hours in the parks, then around 10, 11, you can head back to your hotel, maybe go see the pool, hang out for a couple hours, rest, change clothes if it's really hot. And then between like 3 and 4 in the afternoon, you can head back to the parks until they close.
Yeah, and I guess using this strategy, you not only get to avoid some of those large crowds, you get to avoid that Florida heat.
Yeah.
It can be oppressive at times, and I think that's probably why you see like those zombie families leaving the parks at like 2:30 or 3 o'clock, because they've just been there since open, and they've just been getting beat down by that sun, so they're ready to go back to the hotel, and they'll be going for the rest of the night, so the crowds will be lower in the afternoons. That's why we love doing this.
Quick note, if you've never been in the parks after dark, they are absolutely gorgeous.
We talk about it every time that we're there.
Yeah.
We love being in the parks after dark. It honestly changes the atmosphere. It changes everything about it. That's why we love the after hours events like the Orlando Informer Meetup, HHN. But we are getting to that time of year where the parks are open till 9 or 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
And you get to experience that every night. And it truly is an amazing experience. If you've never done it before, you owe it to yourself. Tip number 4 is going to be to eat at odd times. The lunch rush at Universal, it's real.
Yeah.
Places start serving lunch about 11, and so it gets crazy busy from about 11 to 1:30. While we were there this last time, we heard people complaining about spending an hour to an hour and a half in line just to get food.
Yeah.
And that's not any fun. Most of these lines are outside. It's just not something we enjoy doing. So what we do like to do is we eat at like 2 or 2:30, and we take that time, that like 11 to 1:30, to ride rides, because if there's an hour wait to get some chicken fingers, guess what? Those people can't be in 2 places at once, which means that some of the ride wait times are going to go down during the lunch rush.
Right.
It's just something we love doing, and it's a great way to get a few extra rides in without spending all that time just waiting for food.
And for dinner, most of the sit-down locations inside the park and as well as those locations in City Walk do offer reservations. So you can use that to help you avoid those long wait times. Plus, if you're staying at one of the 3 premier hotels, which are going to be Royal Pacific, Portofino Bay, or the Hard Rock, you do get priority seating at select restaurants throughout the resort. And as far as breakfast goes, it's gonna be a little bit harder to avoid those crowds because it's such a short time frame. We typically just skip breakfast, and then if we get hungry, we'll grab a snack in the parks to hold us over until lunch. But you could, bring some granola bars with you, or try to grab a muffin at your hotel before heading to the parks.
So, pro tip, and this is going to be true not only for Universal, but for most of your theme parks.
Yeah.
if that theme park has a Starbucks, avoid it like the plague. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. Starbucks is like waiting for Hagrid's. It is just a huge line.
Yeah.
And especially early in the morning,
Yeah.
you walk in and it's like the first thing you see is 47 million people waiting to get a vanilla bean frappuccino. And that's just not how we like to start our mornings.
Tip number 3 is going to be to use the Universal Orlando Resort app.
Yeah.
Universal offers a free app that you can download on your phone that can help you beat the crowds in several different ways. This app allows you to schedule virtual queues for some of the rides, especially during those busier times. They'll open up the virtual queue for things like Hagrid's or the Mummy. So you can use your app to get one of these virtual lines for you and your party.
Yeah, so the virtual lines, when they open those up first thing in the morning, you're going to want to be ready to get them because they do go fast, especially on the busy days. And that's the thing. When it is busy, that's when they're going to tend to open up some of these virtual lines. And keep in mind, because it can be frustrating, that you do, like on the busy days, there are some rides. Hagrid's is the best example.
Right.
Is you can only ride it with a virtual queue. And then for like the Mummy,
Right.
you can ride it in one of two ways. You have to have a virtual line pass, or you have to have express pass.
Right.
There's no standby. There's no single riders. That's the only two ways to ride it. It's frustrating, but it's something to keep in mind. And the lines for the virtual queues, they're very quick.
Right.
Even for Hagrid's, you might wait 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's worth trying to get one of those passes.
The Universal app also offers mobile ordering at select restaurants throughout the parks and City Walk. So mobile ordering is basically like getting takeout, where you place your order on the app, and then when you get to the restaurant, your food is either already done or almost done, and you get to skip those huge waits.
Don't make the same mistakes that we make. So the first time that we used mobile ordering, we waited in the standby line, the normal line, for like 45 minutes, and then we get up there and we're like, oh hey, we ordered through the app, and they're like, oh, there's a separate line for that, and there was nobody in it. Like the whole time, nobody was utilizing the app, and we felt like big dum-dums. But it is, I'm not gonna say it's hit or miss. We have only had a handful of times where it didn't really save us time.
Right.
There's just times where everybody's using it. But for the most part, this is going to save you. I mean, seriously, a lot of times you're walking in the park, you can order something on the other side, and by the time you get there, you can walk straight up to the window. It's already paid for because you use the app, and you just grab your food, go find somewhere to sit, and it saves you 30, 45 minutes a lot of the time.
Another awesome feature of the Universal app, which I just recently found out about, is the wait time alert.
Yeah, so how it works is you can set parameters for your favorite ride or a bunch of rides, and when it hits a certain wait time, it'll send you an alert, say, hey, Men in Black is only a 15-minute wait now. The Simpsons is only a 30-minute wait now. Whatever ride you choose, and then you can just make your way over there. And another great feature with the app is that it just shows the wait times everywhere.
Right.
And a strategy that we use is you'll see these high wait times. Perfect example is while we were there, Gringotts got up to 295 minutes. Yeah, nobody's waiting in line for 5 hours for Gringotts.
No.
And, well, apparently somebody was.
Yeah.
But what we like to do is when you see those extremely high wait times, give it 45 minutes or an hour.
Yeah.
People aren't going to go, they're not going to queue up. They are avoiding that at all costs and going to different rides. So over that next 45 minutes to an hour, you'll start seeing those wait times for those really packed rides slowly dropping, and you can make your way over there and save a lot of time that way as well.
The Universal app is awesome, and it has several features that can help you avoid the crowds in the parks. So make sure you get that downloaded before your next trip.
Tip number 2 is going to be avoid the lockers when possible. Especially right now with all the social distancing protocols, it's kind of a mess, and it's not Universal's fault.
No.
The parks weren't built for social distancing. It's just, they're only allowing like one person to go to lockers in most areas. And so sometimes the waits for lockers are just as long as the waits for rides.
Yeah.
We saw the Hulk locker wait. It was backed up all the way through Marvel Island, and like the wait was only like 55 minutes for the ride, but I guarantee the locker situation was at least that. So if you can avoid them, try that.
We always have our camera backpack with us when we're at the parks, and we understand that sometimes you just gotta have your stuff with you. But if you can manage to fit everything in a fanny pack or like a small purse, like a crossbody, you'll be able to ride pretty much everything except for the Hulk and Rip Ride without renting a locker.
And soon to be the Velocicoaster.
Yes, so we highly suggest that. Just try to compact your stuff as much as possible so you can visit the lockers as little as possible.
Yeah, and here is the biggest pro tip ever. If you can, invite a friend who doesn't like to ride rides. You could be like, hey, if you'll just pay your part of the hotel, pay for your flights and pay for your own tickets, doesn't cost you anything at that point, you can come down and just people watch and hold all of our stuff, and you'll never have to deal with a locker. It's a great way to deal with this situation.
And of course, tip number 1 is going to be to get an express pass. Now, you'll typically hear that with the express pass, the most you're gonna wait is about half of the standby time.
Yeah, and in our experience, that's just not true. For example, you heard me talk about the 295 minute wait at Gringotts, that we experienced this past week. While we were there, we went over there right as that wait time was at its peak, and we waited like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it is a great way to save time. They are expensive, but if you can budget it, it's going to save you more time than any of these other tips combined.
Right.
It really is. If you're like us, we love riding rides. It's almost a must for us. If you can budget it and you can make it happen, we highly, highly suggest getting an express pass.
Yeah, like Tyler said, we realize that like most things at Universal, the express passes are not cheap. Like, we're talking like $150 per person per day.
And
not cheap.
That is on the cheap side. This past week while we were there, they were $310 per person per day. I'm sorry, $309.99.
Yeah, so that's insane, but there are ways to get the express pass for a lot less money.
Yes.
So our biggest tip is that if you're staying at one of the 3 premier hotels, which again are Royal Pacific, Portofino Bay, and the Hard Rock, everyone staying in your room gets an unlimited express pass for your entire stay. Now, of course, this is budgeted into the room, the cost of your hotel room, but it's a lot better to pay $300 per night for the hotel than $300 per person per day, plus whatever your hotel costs.
Yeah, it's a way to save a lot of money. It is something that we highly recommend, especially if you are people who, like us, enjoy riding the rides. Riding rides is one of our priorities when we go down there.
Yeah.
We just chain ride stuff so often.
Yeah.
And it's what makes our vacation, but that isn't necessarily for everyone. But like she said, it comes with the premier hotels, like we listed earlier. That'll get you priority seating. There's a lot of benefits that come with this. This is the best tip we can give you.
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
you want to save the most time and make the most out of your experience, you almost have to get an express pass.
We also did an entire video about the express passes, breaking down the different kinds of express passes that they offer and the best way to afford them. So if you're interested in that, we'll put a link up here, and then we'll also put one down in the description so you can go check that out.
Alright guys, that wraps up today's video. Leave us a comment in the comment section and let us know the longest that you've waited to ride a ride at Universal Studios.
If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up. You can hit that subscribe button and turn on that bell bell notification so you get an alert every time we post a new video.
Thanks for watching.